lower it a little bit. There we go. Hello. Chris Godinez, licensed professional counselor, also the host of We Need to Talk on every Sunday at noon. This video is for educational and informational purposes only. The views and opinions stated herein are mine and mine alone. They do not represent the ACA, the APA, or any other therapist for that matter. I'd like to thank my sponsor, BetterHelp, BetterHelp, BetterHelp.com/Chris Godinez. They're an online therapy company. They are international. If you need to get to a therapist, go to BetterHelp.com/Chris Godinez. They have packages of 4 and they are super affordable. And I've gotten lots of good feedback from the people using them. So thank you, BetterHelp.com/Chris Godinez. Okay, I'm going to introduce Diane, Marcia Diane. Marcia Diane is an author. She is a fellow therapist. She is a life coach. She is amazing. And she and I are going to talk about healing from trauma, PTSD, CPTSD, all of that fun stuff. But first, before we dive into that, I wanted to do a little public service announcement, how I do every time when I talk about current events. Okay. So the Gilbert goons. Oh, let's talk just for a brief moment. So the Gilbert goons, they just arrested, I think they said 7 people. The Gilbert goons are described by concerned citizens as a gang of 20 or more, mostly white, upper middle class teenagers from multiple Southeast Valley high schools. This is on AZ Central. The attacks have become increasingly violent: brass knuckles, beatings, fear, witness intimidation, etc. The Gilbert police did nothing. The Queen Creek police did. Pinal County police did, but Gilbert did nothing until AZ Republic started reporting on this. The town of Gilbert has been putting out, we care desperately about our citizens. No, they don't. Really, honestly, they need to be recalled. The mayor needs to be recalled. I know she's not running again because she knows she can't win. The mayor needs to be recalled. The town council needs to be recalled, and especially the chief of police, because they did nothing. And their BS is that, when people called in, and this is in the article on AZ Central, when people called in, they didn't say that it was related to a gang. Oh, really? Now you have to do the police work for them and tell them it's related to a gang? So here's the other concerning thing. In Arizona, I just looked up a nationwide review on AP, the AP, a nationwide review of open meetings and how to get information. Apparently, Arizona does not have that. Generally, Arizona residents must go to court to resolve open government disputes. The Arizona Ombudsman's Citizen Aid does receive complaints about public records and meeting access, and the agency can answer questions, mediate between complainants and agencies, and formally investigate complaints. However, it does not have the authority to force an agency to have compliance. Residents can ask an attorney general or their county attorney to file a lawsuit, Lawsuits are expensive, to enforce open meeting laws. But these offices cannot file lawsuits to enforce public records law. This must change, because part of what's been going on is that the Gilbert police have been obfuscating what's been happening. They have not been honest about their investigation. They took 2 years plus to start investigating. The fact that a lot of these kids come from wealthy families, oh gosh, you think that might have had something to do with it? I'll bet it did. So honestly, we need to start writing our state senators, and we need to change this open meetings law. Gilbert is notorious for passing things without telling its constituents of what they're doing. Witness the park, the amusement park that they wanted to put in a residential neighborhood twice, which we defeated them twice. Thank you, St. Michael, and thank you for that picture. So the point being is that this has got to change. Government agencies have got to be transparent, and especially police agencies need to be transparent in what they're doing, when they investigated, when they knew about stuff. And this BS about, they didn't tell us it was a gang. I'm sorry, I could figure out it was a gang. I don't have any criminal education whatsoever, except from what I've seen on Law and Order. Chung chung. You know what I'm saying? So come on, guys. This is BS. And the chief of police needs to be removed. Absolutely. The council needs to be removed. And this whole law in Arizona needs to be that it's transparent, and you don't have to do a lawsuit to make them do open, transparent meetings. So there is my current event for the day. All right. Take a deep breath. Everything's good. All right. So that is what is new with the Gilbert goons, because I wanted to keep you guys. Oh, and one more thing. Chase Bank may not be a good bank to bank with. I just wanted to let you guys know that. if you are leaving a domestic violence situation, look into a credit union, okay? A local credit union. Inform them of what's going on so that they don't, what is the word I'm looking for? Conspire with your abuser. Okay. And the reason I say that about Chase Bank is that I've banked with them for 15 years. I have a legacy account because I've been with them for so long. I wanted to use a new service that they have. And then they're suddenly like, oh, well, we need proof that you're really a business. And I'm like, you have all my proof. My banker sent it to you. Oh, no, we need this. We need that. We need this other thing. And they're like, and I'm like, okay, this is weird. I've been with you for 16 years. What the hell? So I'm hearing from a whole bunch of women entrepreneurs that they're having the same problem. Not hearing from men entrepreneurs. I'm hearing from women entrepreneurs that they're having problems with their bank accounts at Chase. I've also been hearing that bank accounts are being closed without being noticed. So be very, very careful who you bank with. I will keep you apprised of what's happening because I've got a complaint in. I would like to have it resolved. I would like to keep my bank, but I have no problem going to a credit union if that's what needs to happen. So be very, very aware of who you are banking with and if they are trustworthy or not, or if they have good customer service. Because at this point, I've had to talk to 7 different people. So yeah, anyway, there is that. Okay, now hitting what needs to be hit. Hello, darling. How are you?
Hello, I'm fabulous. How are you?
Always, you look great in purple.
Oh, thank you.
So, what's new? What's exciting? What's happening? What's going on?
Well, I have a company called Essential Mastery, and it is to help women who have PTSD or just a lot of anxiety and trouble with managing their emotions caused by little t or big T trauma.
Good.
So I don't know if you want to get into
that.
Yeah,
you want to describe what little T trauma is, what big T trauma is, because I don't think a lot of people understand.
Probably
that.
not.
Yeah.
So big T trauma is probably what you already know. That would be sexual assault, murder of somebody else, being involved in a life-threatening situation.
Like seeing a murder.
Yeah,
that'll do it.
Or, being attacked by the Goonies, or, any kind of violence, domestic violence situation, a car accident, anything that causes a lot of trauma. Of course, war and that kind of thing. Little T trauma is more things that people don't necessarily think of as trauma. That would be emotional abuse. So a parent or a spouse or a child abusing somebody emotionally, narcissistic abuse, little things that happen.
Thanks.
Yes.
Refusing to acknowledge that you've been in business for 15 years. That would be a trauma. For
all
sure.
Kinds of stuff. Lots and lots of things. But so many people have that.
Sorry. There we go. Go ahead.
And that changes the way they feel about themselves.
Yes.
It changes the way they interact with other people.
Yes.
It changes the way they interact in their workplace. It just changes their life completely.
Exactly. And tell us a little bit more about yourself. How did you decide to start working on this particular issue? What made you decide that this is something you wanted to pursue?
Good question. I've had a lot of trauma in my own life. I had an overbearing father. My mother died of cancer when I was with her, the only one with her, when I was 16. Of course, that was very traumatic. I was the oldest and had to take care of my younger sister. So I couldn't stay at school and do extracurricular activities at school, couldn't get into sports. They didn't want me to date my boyfriend because he wasn't the same religion. I mean, just all kinds of crazy stuff. And then when my mother died, my father was even more overbearing. Yeah. So I got married to get out of the house, basically, which is a terrible reason to get married. And after a while, my husband started cheating on me, running around, and doing drugs. And when I objected, started beating me. So that was a lot of trauma. And I got out of that marriage. And
thank God.
I'm not going to tell my whole history, but I've had lots of trauma with lots of different partners. And I didn't realize that I was having problems. I just thought they had the problem.
Right.
And when I was married to my last husband, my alcoholic husband, and he started getting really abusive emotionally, not so much physically, I thought it was his problem. It took me a long time to go to Al-Anon, even though people were telling me to do that to get help. So long story short, I know a lot about trauma. And then I got into a counseling program and got my master's degree in counseling in 2004, worked in a lot of agencies, saw a lot of clients that had all different kinds of trauma, and I learned how to handle it. had some Vietnam vets, some other people that were in the military. One guy shot another military person because he was following protocol, and long story, I won't even get into it, but he started drinking massively and screwed up his marriage. And people drink a lot when their lives get messed up by one thing or another, and they don't realize it's PTSD.
Oh yeah, totally. Because we don't want to feel.
We don't want to feel.
We don't want to feel.
We want to heal, but we want to do it the easy way. And
Yeah.
so people turn to all kinds of addictions,
which is not good.
Food, sex, gambling, drugs, anger. I think anger is an addiction.
It is.
That people can get into.
100%. Because it stimulates all of the endorphins, the dopamines, the serotonins, makes you feel powerful.
Right.
Not a good thing.
No. So, people tend to want to just get the emotion out. They don't want to feel it because it doesn't feel good. It feels horrible.
Right.
And then there's this really nasty thing called shame.
Yes. Oh my God. Talk about that. Because almost every survivor of abuse feels shame, and it's not theirs.
It's not theirs.
Totally not theirs.
So there's a lot of confusion between guilt and shame.
Mhm.
So very briefly, guilt is because you did something bad or wrong. And that's you should feel guilty. Take a look at it, drop the guilt and move on and fix the problem. But shame is, guilt is I did bad. Shame is I am bad. Feeling like there's something wrong with me. I'm not worthy. I'm not lovable. I'm not all those things that people tell themselves. And that just lowers self-esteem. It lowers productivity. It lowers the ability to sleep at night. It causes all kinds of problems that people self-medicate with, like what we just talked about with whatever their addictions are.
And then with the shame, do you find that they have a lot of rumination?
Oh, yeah.
So like they just keep like chewing that over and chewing that over and chewing that over.
Right. A lot of my clients, they don't even have to think a positive thought. They'll tell me all their negative thoughts, and I call them ants, automatic negative thoughts. Like, who wants an ant-infested house? Who wants to live, with ants in your house? Well, you live with ants in your head when you're constantly thinking of those negative thoughts. And I think that's just reprogrammed into us.
Mm-hmm.
I think America and maybe lots of other countries are negatively focused.
I agree.
We hear a lot of negativity on the news. Our parents are always, trying to get us to do what we don't want to do. And so we just grow up with that negative focus, and we get to start feeling like there's something wrong with us.
I totally agree.
Fault.
Yeah. I totally agree. So like, for example, like the news thing, if it bleeds, it leads. And I tell all my clients, stop watching the news. Stop watching it. Just, get your morning news from like the AP, read it, and then be done with it and set it aside, and don't linger over it, because these 24-hour news stations, man, they want you to just sit there and just be in a state of fear all the time. And if you've got abuse in your background, your little amygdala, or your little, where's the danger? Where's the danger? Your periscope's going to be up 24/7. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? I need to get it,
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I totally agree. Do you find in working with survivors that there's a lot of almost OCD kind of stuff going on?
Oh, yeah.
Talk about that, would you?
It might not be classic OCD,
Mm-hmm.
but they are obsessive. They are, trying to do things compulsively to stop all their feelings. They just don't have their they can't emotionally regulate. They try to do things that have nothing to do with what's actually happening in order to feel better.
Yes, I have found that. I've had several clients that classic OCD, actually, they would have intrusive thoughts and start focusing in on things that have nothing to do with the abuse, and you're sitting there going, what is this about? And then when you really start working on it, it's like, oh, this is a form of distraction. Okay, I got it. And then getting them back to.
Well, and it's insidious.
Yeah, it is.
Just because they've realized what's happening, and just because they put two and two together and connect the dots between what happened in their childhood, say, when it all started, and now, it's really hard to change. And I'm a very solution-focused therapist. I mean, I listen, I try to get people to understand, why they do what they do, but I also give them a lot of really wonderful tools. I have a, massive, heavy toolbox that because I feel right tool for the right job.
Yep, 100%.
But when a person has been traumatized that way, they don't remember to use the tools.
That's true. It takes repetition, guys. And that's the thing that I think you need to remember, is that, honestly, a non-abused brain can pick things up 1 to 6 times. No problem. An abused brain, 1 to 200. Seriously, because think about how much we dissociate, how much we check out, how much we're like, no, I don't want to think about this, or whatever is going on. So gentle with you. And just remember, when you start working with a therapist, it's not going to come naturally immediately. It will over time, but it's not going to come naturally immediately. And like Marcia says, it's like we hand you the tools, we teach you how to use them, but we have to go back over those tools to remind you how to use them and to remember to pick them up in the moment, because in the moment we usually do knee-jerk reactions and we go to old behaviors. So we got to remember to do knee-jerk reaction. Oh, and now I need to do this instead of that. So tell us about your program. Tell us about, you've got this, let me, hold on, several books that I just want to make sure that you guys see. This is Thriving, there it is, Thriving in Unprecedented Times, which is a great book. I love it, especially since we're coming into another presidential election and I'm sure people are going to be stupid. And then this one.
Can I just say another
sure.
thing about this? So I wrote Thriving in Unprecedented Times during COVID.
Which was very upheaving in so many ways.
So many ways.
Yeah.
But I needed to do something. You know, I wasn't seeing clients in my office anymore. I wasn't doing as many things as I used to do. So I said, okay, well, I've got all these tools and I want to pass along all this explanation about why things are the way they are. And it's just full.
It's a great book. It's a great book. So stuff. This is a good one. So then tell us about your Climbing Out of the PTSD Hole.
So this is what I call my tiny book.
See, it's not very thick. It's good though.
It's on PTSD and being able to regulate your emotions. So it talks about what is PTSD, what does it feel like, what can you do about it, the trauma and the complex trauma, complex PTSD. It talks about how to help a survivor of PTSD, a whole chapter on different causes, a whole bunch of stuff. And in the back, there's some tools. It gives you the whole criteria of what it means to have PTSD. But you don't have to have a clinical diagnosis of PTSD or meet the criteria in order to be helped by my program. But I thought, there's so many people in the world that have experienced severe trauma, all kinds of trauma. And some people are lucky and they go to trauma therapists and they get help, but a lot of people don't. So if you're one of those people that aren't getting the help that you need, or you still feel like you're not good enough, or you don't have confidence, or you're not sleeping well at night, or you have intrusive thoughts and memories, flashbacks, nightmares, all that kind of stuff and more, then this is a great book to get, and it's free.
Ta-da! So, and you're doing Essential Mastery.
Essential Mastery is a course.
Is a
and
course.
Membership program.
Okay.
It's a 6-module course packed full of videos and spiritual exercises, kind of like guided meditations, to help people get to a really relaxed state, to help the people to go through the steps to get to the place where they're ready to take a look at their trauma.
Right.
Take a look at their trauma triggers, because sometimes people can't do that right away. So it's a course. I do live sessions once a week where I meet with people, like on a group coaching session, like on Zoom, and they can ask me questions. I can answer whatever's pertinent to people that are in the program. And it's also a membership program. And to me, that's priceless. We need, when we've been through trauma, we need other people that have been through the same trauma and are going through the same journey to be able to talk with, to complain about, but to also talk about, what they can do, what they learned, and share with each other.
And I think that's so important. And that is something that I have talked to you guys about. One of the reasons why I love everybody on my channel is that everybody helps each other. And I think this is another way for everybody to help each other, because you get together, you talk, and maybe a divorce attorney that nobody else does, or maybe what to avoid in a high conflict divorce that this new person doesn't, So it's really good to get that group going and talking and helping each other and, giving each other information, because, one person may have part of the picture and another person might have another part of the picture, but the two of you get together, you get the whole picture. So something to think about.
Something to think about.
Yeah. So it's a 6-week long course.
Well, it's 6 modules.
6 modules.
I might have said 6 weeks because I was thinking those terms before.
Uh-oh.
My brain hasn't totally.
That's okay. So it's a 6-module course.
Which means it could take you 6 weeks, or it could take you 6 months, or it could take you a year.
Okay. So
it depends on the person.
You work on it at your own pace.
It's a self-paced. It's an at-home You get all the materials you need. You get a workbook. I call it a playbook because it's got a kind of fun things in it as well as,
Right.
serious work things to do.
Right.
So yeah, you take as long, you just go at your own pace. So there's no shame with taking 6 months or a year to go through this. To me, the shame is not doing anything.
Right.
It's staying stuck where you are. And to me, being stuck is like the worst feeling. I
In the
hate
world.
that feeling. So there's definitely help out there. And I can only help so many people in my private practice.
Right.
I don't work in agencies anymore. I have a private practice, but you're limited one-on-one. So this is a group kind of situation, and I can do one-on-one, but that'll cost a lot more money, and we haven't got that program really set up quite yet.
Right.
So there's that. But if you're interested, I do suggest that you go on my website. It's my name, marciadiane.com.
marciadiane.com. John, are you listening? Hello, marciadiane.com.
They're going to put it on the screen.
I hope they're going to put it in the chat. So this is where you get this for free. This is awesome. And then you can go check out her Essential Mastery course, which I think would be really a good idea. I do. I think it would be good. So
on the first page, my homepage and my website, there's a picture, there's a video of me talking about Essential Mastery, and under that is the link to the book.
Okay.
And my website's full of all kinds of other wonderful things.
marciadiane.com.
Right.
Yes.
And I've got 20 or more other books on my book page.
You do.
And I have a blog page.
Yes.
I produce a blog every week.
Good.
That's a lot of writing.
That is a lot of writing.
I love writing. So, there's almost 100 of them already on my blog page, and that's free. So go ahead and check that out as well.
And this is why I love this idea, this whole Essential Mastery thing, because Marcia Diane has been there. She has done that. She bought the playbook and she knows what happens. So, and this is, I think, important when you're looking for somebody to help you. You want to make damn sure that the person has gone through either trauma training or gone through it themselves and come out the other side. Mm-hmm. Because if they haven't, if you get with a therapist that has not been there, done that, their finger's going to be up their nose. Seriously, they're not going to know how to help you, really.
And I've done a ton of trauma training.
Yeah.
To keep our license current in the state of Arizona, we have to do 30 hours every 2 years of continuing education credits. So I've done a lot of trauma training and other kinds of training as well.
Yeah. You want to hear something funny?
Oh, of course.
Do you remember when we first started, nobody talked about this?
About trauma?
Yeah. Nobody talked about domestic violence. Right. Nobody talked about
and they didn't talk
personality
about
disorders. They didn't talk about spirituality. They didn't talk about any of this stuff. Yeah. And now I just got a thing from Pesci, which is our CEU thing. Trauma workshop with Dr. Ramani. I'm just like, it's come full circle.
Yeah,
they're finally. How many years later? 2005?
So you and I were kind of.
You were ahead of me. You were ahead of me by 1 year, I think. 2 years.
Well, I mean, in working in trauma and spirituality. But I think I graduated a year before you. 2004.
2004. I graduated in 2006. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's taken almost 10 years for them to catch up.
And we have parallel but not the same training and things that we do in our practice with our clients. And
right.
So I want to backtrack just a little bit.
Sure.
One of the wonderful things to learn, to know, to just file away in the back of your mind is you learn much faster when you're having fun.
Ding! Oh yeah.
So like Chris said, a healthy person might take 6, 7, 10 times repeated information in order to really remember it, and a person who's been traumatized 200, 300, 500 times. But if you're having fun, it much sticks. Faster.
Yep.
That's why children learn so fast, because they play, they're having fun. So we can do that.
Exactly.
We can practice our positive affirmations in a very playful, positive way.
Exactly. And I think that's what a lot of us forget when we're in it, because everything's so serious, because the abuser generally makes it serious, right? It's like gravitas. I have to have gravitas. You have to take me seriously, as opposed to looking at them and going, "You're about a 2-year-old, aren't you? Oh yeah, on a good day, on a Tuesday, if the wind's blowing in the right direction." And
of course, if you're married to an abuser, you dare not say something like that. Otherwise, the repercussions would leave you in the hospital, maybe.
Yeah. Getting away from them is the best thing.
You've probably talked about more women are killed by their loved ones than any other way.
Yeah. Everybody always thinks it's stranger danger. No. It's they're killed by people that they know and love.
Yeah. Well, there is a stranger danger, but it's
not
people.
like
not
as many. Yeah. Right. No, definitely. So yeah. So anyway, all right. So it's a 6-week module. You can take as long as you want. And where can people find this book? This is on this Thriving in Unprecedented Times is also on marciadiane.com. Okay, cool.
/books. You can see all of my books. I have
Okay.
lots of meditation books.
Okay.
That are kind of of the spiritual nature.
Okay.
And some of them are under $5. So I've tried to make things very, very affordable for people. And actually, I'm going to say this. Yeah. I hate to say this, but Amazon, it sells all my books except for this one. This is the only one that I actually send out myself. But you can buy this on Amazon for under cost now. You know, when books, sometimes they just take books down, they lower the price, the price. So my original list price was $14.95, and I think they're selling it now for like $3.33. And I still get my commission, so I don't know how they do that.
Right, yeah.
This is a great time to buy this, but $3.33 for a paperback book.
And I think spirituality is super important in our recovery. No matter what it is, whether you go for whatever religion, doesn't matter. Getting back in touch with that light inside of you, the one that they tried to mush, is hugely important. And I don't care what path you take to get there, just get there. Right. You know, so meditation, you know, going to church if that's your thing, or Buddhism or Islam or whatever.
Or doing yoga.
Or doing yoga or whatever. Just get back in touch with that light, because they tried to smush it. We know they did. It was awful. Didn't like it.
My approach to spirituality is a universal spirituality.
Bingo.
So I quote a lot of teachers across time, across countries, across religions. I mean, I have my own religion that's important to me, but I don't push that at all. I may talk about it somewhat, but you know, the real principles, the downright getting in touch with the spiritual flow, you know, the vortex, getting in the vortex and living in the vortex is just really beautiful stuff. And I wish everybody would do that.
Yep.
And that can eliminate a lot of the trauma that we have carried, because
it gets us in touch with who we are, and it gets us in touch with a higher power. And it helps us, I think, stay in the present moment instead of up here in our head, ruminating. Yes. So
but we still have to do the work.
Oh, yeah.
It's like God knows so much more than we do, or whatever you want to call it, source energy. I don't care what you call it. Doesn't matter. Right. God certainly doesn't care what you call it. But there is a power greater than ourselves that knows everything, created everything, can help you in any way that you need, but you still need to do the work.
Yeah.
I think of us as we're like co-pilots.
Yeah.
You know, we're not the pilot, but sometimes we need to take our hands off the wheel and say, okay, God, you take care of this because I can't do this.
Right. And exactly. Exactly. Well, and I think it's important too, because nothing is in a vacuum. So the spirituality, you can't just do spirituality and expect to get healed. You've got to do the spirituality and do all the psychological stuff as well. You know, working on the self-esteem, working on the inner child. Oh my God, the inner child, that just breaks my heart. Sometimes when my clients talk and I go, how old are you? And then they really access it and they just burst into tears. I so badly wish I could reach through the screen and just be like, it's going to be okay. You're going to be fine. You're safe. Everything's all right. And I think that's what a lot of survivors don't realize, is that part of what they're avoiding is that fear, that deep, like gut level inner child, 2 or 3 year old fear,
terror, horror.
Yeah, absolutely.
But you can parent your own inner child. That's the good news.
I know.
You don't even have to have a mom to go back to soothe you and be all kind and nice to you, which would be great. But my mother died at 16, so I've been motherless for really long time.
Exactly.
But you parent yourself.
Yeah. And if the parent was abusive, you absolutely don't need them. You've got to take care of you. You've got to be the parent that you always wanted and needed, but did not get. And I think your mastery course helps people kind of start accessing that power. And it really is a power to start getting in touch with, you know, who you really are, your spiritual journey. You know, it's okay to have emotions. It's okay to have thoughts. It's okay. Thoughts are just thoughts. It's what we act on makes it good or bad, you know? So I think it's really important. And that non-judgmentalness is so important.
So important.
Because so many of us got that smush, you know, like you're bad, you're wrong, you're this, you're that, you know?
One of the many things I learned along the way is the opposite of judgment is mercy. So have mercy.
Have mercy
on yourself and on other people.
It's
Sometimes
true.
it's really hard to do.
Oh, especially when other people are jackwagons, but it's a thing. And I think there's a difference between having mercy and being a doormat. I think, again, it's like that Pema Chodron, American Buddhist nun, her description of the difference between compassion and idiot compassion. You can look at the abuser and have compassion for them in that they're suffering. They've created their own misery. They've created their own suffering. And you don't need to have anything to do with them, but you can have compassion for them. Idiot compassion is where that codependency pops in and we go, oh, you poor thing, you're suffering, you're in misery. Here, let me be in your life. No, don't do it. Don't do it, Frenchie. It ain't going to end well. Trust me on that one. So
one of the tools I teach my clients is I call grounding and shielding.
Ah.
So I'm not going to get too deeply into that. There's a lot of different ways to do that, but you need to be grounded. Physically grounded. There's ways to just go outside and stand on the grass.
Yes.
Get grounded. Just
Barefoot.
Imagine you're grounded into the earth.
Yes.
And then shield yourself. Imagine like an arm's distance length around your entire body is your force shield, just like Star Wars, or the ships have a force shield to keep the bad guys away and all their weapons. Well, the weapons these days is energy. And like the media puts out all this toxic energy, and your abuser puts out all this toxic energy, and we take it in without knowing that we're taking it in.
And I think that's the danger. I don't think we realize how much, like something that my dad had said like years ago, because I'm old now, but something my dad had said suddenly popped into my head the other day, and I went, son of a bitch. It was like, it was back there and it just suddenly popped up, and I was like, I let that in and I fucking believed. I believed it. It's like, what the hell? So then I had to do some work about, be gone, be gone, be gone. Not interested. That's dad. That's not me, so.
Well, we have this thing called the subconscious mind.
Oh, yes.
And the subconscious mind remembers everything. But we can reprogram it.
That's the beautiful part. Talk more about that. Learned behavior. Talk about that.
So what we learned and the way it affected us and the decisions we made as children, which were childish decisions, but we still run on that because we're habitual beings. We just keep doing that. But when we realize that we have a subconscious mind that remembers that, but we can reprogram it, we can put new thoughts in it. It's not only the subconscious mind, but it's also our physical mind, which there's neural pathways, neurons, axons, neurotransmitters, all that kind of stuff. We can reprogram that. That's why positive affirmations and incantations, which are more like saying the positive affirmations with energy and emotion. And, emotions are good things. Emotions are God-given, just like eyesight and just like hearing and just like sense of smell. We don't want to cut off our emotions. Like we don't want to stop smelling just because something stink, We want to use.
I don't know. It depends.
Well, we don't necessarily smell that thing. That's why we distance ourselves from our abusers and stuff. But we carry,
because they stink.
They do, and we carry that stuff in our subconscious mind.
Yeah,
it doesn't go away. It doesn't go away from our physical brain either. But we can. When I say reprogram, I'm talking about doing new things in a new way.
Right.
So instead of believing I am a terrible person because, I didn't do my homework and I ditched school one day. I'm not a terrible person. I did what I needed to do then, but now look at all the good things. Yeah. I'm grateful for this about my life. I'm grateful for this. I'm doing this. I appreciate this. I'm resilient, and you start talking to yourself in ways that keep you feeling good about yourself.
Exactly.
And you put energy and emotion into that. And that starts reprogramming the physical brain and the subconscious mind. And eventually your brain will they'll have as many or more neural pathways going in the right direction, the good direction, than in the wrong direction. So you can more easily switch
it. Yeah. Which is why it was so shocking to me when my dad's thing popped up. I was like, I hadn't thought of that in years. And then all of a sudden it was there. And I was like, I see you. Not today, Satan. And went in the other direction.
Hatched and popped out, and there it is. And we all have that. And I remember the silliest things, the small T traumas. I remember the woman who was going 20 from the store I like to shop at to my home. There's a stretch of road that's 30 miles an hour. It's just a residential street. So she was going 20 miles an hour, and there was a straight part of that road. And so I just went around her and, didn't think anything of it. Went home. She followed me home. I was about ready to get out of my car and shut the garage. And she rolls down her window and starts yelling at me. How dare I pass her on the road. I said, well, you're going 20 miles an hour in a 30-mile-an-hour zone. But she had this girl, like, I don't know, 11, 12, 13 years old, sitting in the passenger seat. And so I might have been a little rude to her and told her it's none of your business, but I didn't want to say anything rude in front of the girl.
Right.
She was trying to role model being a good mother, I suppose, but I think she's probably bipolar or something. But I was trying to role model, being a civil citizen. And so I just told her what I did, and I just said, that's it. There's no school there.
Right.
Did I say she told me there was a school zone there?
No.
There's no school zone
There's no school zone there.
No,
Yeah.
I don't know what she was talking about. She just needed to be right.
Yep.
But, that happened like 10 years ago. And I still think about it. Every time I drive down that road, that pops into my head. So our brains they just do what they do.
They absorb.
They absorb and they vomit sometimes stuff that we don't want to deal with. So,
but when it does pop up, I think the big lesson is okay, yeah, so it popped up, and what's the and? What's the next step?
Right. What do you do?
What do you do with that? You just
Right.
acknowledge it and you go, that happened 10 years ago. Thanks for playing. Bye-bye. Let it go.
And if I'm going to teach, can I teach a real simple technique? It's called havening. You put your hands on opposite shoulders, and you just rub your hands down your arms and flick the energy out. So sometimes we just need a hug, but there's nobody around to hug. My mom's not around, even though I wish she was. She's not. But sometimes we can just give ourselves this good feeling,
and
we can give us good feeling of self-talk.
Yeah.
I'm a good person. I do the right thing to the best of my ability. This is an incident from the past, and I'm just letting it go. I let it go.
Yep.
Let her go.
Let
Send
her
her
go.
love. Send her grace. I'm a big person for sending everybody love, and it's taken a lot for me to get to that place because there's a lot of people I hate.
Oh yeah,
and there's a lot of crazy stuff going on.
Love is the highest power, and what I have found is that it takes the wind out of their sails if you send them love. Because they got nothing to work with. First of all, they don't understand love. Second of all, they got nothing to work with. It's like,
especially if you're face to face and you say something loving.
Yeah, because they're used to this. They're used to being, something to hit against. But if you just are like, nope, not playing. Nope, not playing. They get tired and bored of it. They don't want to. They want somebody to fight against. I did a video about that earlier this week. How they love fighting. So yeah. So I think we're going to take questions. Let's go over to the questions. Okay, radical acceptance of reported illegal activities that were ignored. How to do this? What is the most effective way to heal the brain? Okay, hold on. Let me see if I understand this. Radical acceptance of reported illegal activity that were ignored. Well, okay, so there's radical acceptance, and then there's not putting up with, we're not gonna take it. Do you see where I'm going with that? So with the Gilbert goons, it's like, okay, yeah, they did what they did. However, they all need to be in jail, and the police chief needs to be sanctioned. I'm sorry, 2 years of this, and their excuse is, they didn't tell us it was gang related. I doubt that the LAPD have to ask people if it's gang related. They figure it out because they know what they're doing. So,
so acceptance is not permission.
Yeah. Thank you. Talk more about that.
Acceptance is you just, okay, it happened. I accept that it happened. I accept the Goonies did what they did. I accept that sometimes I do things that I'm not proud of. I accept that sometimes people have treated me in ways that I don't like. I accept it. And
what is the next right step?
I'm going to take care of myself.
I'm going to locate my nearest senator and fill his ear. That's going to be my thing.
Action, right?
Yeah, I'm going to take action. Right. So it's always acceptance is, it is what it is. That's the famous AA stating. It is what it is. And now what? What's the next step? What do you do now? How can you make this better? That's always my question. When stuff like this goes down, my first question is always, how can I fix this? Or who do I need to go break my foot off in their ass with to get this fixed? Does that make sense? So yeah, it's not permission. It is acknowledging what is, and what is that the Gilbert police screwed on this. So they did wrong. They absolutely did wrong, and they're not facing consequences, and they need to. So,
and one thing I want to say, you use anger as a motivating tool.
Hell yeah.
And I don't.
I know.
And that's okay.
I know.
And so if you're out there and you don't want to get angry to do something, you can still take action without getting angry.
You can.
You can just, say, I need to do this. If not now, when?
Right. And if not me, who?
Right.
Yeah.
I'm glad you remembered.
Yeah. Because that's really it. It's like, if we don't do anything, if we see wrong things happening and we don't do anything. It's just going to keep happening. And the question that was asked is if the Gilbert police had started doing something 2 years ago, would Preston Lord still be alive? The answer to that is yes, because the Gilbert goons would have been disbanded. They would have been in jail. So I hope he can live with that. Chief of police, do nothing. Don't get me started. Okay, what is the most effective way to heal the brain after PTSD? Is it EMDR, CBT, CPT? Can a trauma-trained therapist help, or is a trauma-informed therapy sufficient? Thoughts?
I think a trauma-informed therapist it's really important to have one, but you're going to do the work, and your brain is going to just let go when it lets go.
Right.
There was another thought I had that flew out the window as I'm having a senior moment.
That's okay. When you think of it, let me know, because I want to say, here's the thing. There are plenty of therapists out there that say they're trauma informed, that they don't know their ass from a hole in the ground. So you want to ask them specific questions. And I never get upset when people ask me questions when they come to see me. They ask like, well, have you been through trauma? Yes, absolutely. 100%. I have, my dad was abusive. My mom let him do it. I have a book about it. You can go to my website. You can go to my YouTube. It's like I'm open book, basically.
So I remember what I was going to say.
Go ahead.
So we were talking about interventions. I believe EMDR is wonderful, and I took the training in that. And I don't really do that for a number of reasons that I won't get into. My favorite emotional release tool is emotional freedom technique.
The tapping.
And that's the tapping.
Yeah.
And that is very powerful. What I love about that is you can do it on your own. You don't need a therapist for an hour and a half session at a lot of money to do it. Right. Once you learn to do it, you can do it as much as you need to do it.
Exactly.
And then when you're triggered, you can just do it.
Start tapping.
You just have to remember to do it. And I tell my clients, put a piece of paper in your pocket or in your phone, put a note in your phone that says, use EFT.
Yep.
Because one of the things is there's a part of us for some reason that just wants to go back to what's comfortable and what we already know. And we don't want to, it doesn't want us to remember. It's like the negative side doesn't want us to remember these things. But, if you learn the tools and you use the tools, they're really, really helpful. So I use a lot of tools, but EFT is one of my power tools.
Yeah, I agree. I think EFT is great. I love EFT. I love EMDR, but EMDR doesn't work for everybody. CBT doesn't work for everybody. So you've got to kind of try to play around with things to see what works best for you. So some people love CPT. That has been effective. There's been several studies out that's super effective. EFT is definitely helpful. I've had so many clients do EFT to such great effect. It's been wonderful.
Oh, it's
wonderful.
I've helped the Vietnam vets to sleep at night. I helped a woman who was kidnapped and raped and held captive for 2 years when she was 17, and I met her when she was 67, and she was in a facility for seriously mentally ill clients, and I helped her in one session to let go of a whole lot of stuff so that she could sleep at night.
That's awesome.
It was wild. And then she stopped coming to therapy because she felt like if she got well, she'd get kicked out of the facility.
Oh no, God. Well, that's another issue.
People have all kinds of reasons for staying stuck where they're at.
Yeah.
But it's up to you. If you want to help is definitely
so
out there.
EMDR is great. EFT is wonderful. CBT, talk therapy. CPT is a different form of talk therapy. It's a little more direct, I think, than CBT.
So I look at it like right tool for the right job at the right moment.
Bingo.
So brushes, look at all the different kind of brushes. I wouldn't use a hairbrush on my teeth.
No.
I have a toothbrush. I have a hairbrush. I have a cleaning the toilet brush.
Brush.
Yeah. Right tool for the right job, and just learn what they are, learn how to use them, and then use them when it's appropriate.
And remember, it's like not every therapist you're going to click with. Seriously, it's like I've had people come to me and after one session, they're like, oh, you're too direct. Okay, well, let me refer you to, and then I refer them out. So make sure that your therapist is the therapist that you feel comfortable with and that is on the same energy level kind of thing. Right. So it's really important. Talk to them, interview them as much as they interview you. And it should be a mutual interviewing thing. I don't think a lot of therapists do that anymore, but I do.
I think it's important to be really honest with your therapist. And if you pick one that you like and you don't like everything they say,
tell them.
Or you don't, then be open and honest.
Yeah.
That's what they're there for.
100%.
They don't read minds. I don't read minds. Nope. We're not programmed to read minds.
And I'm not going to take it personally, So in fact, it was interesting. I just had a client 2 weeks ago that she was like, I feel like I'm wrong in this last session, and we were talking about orders of protection and things like that, and it was just totally a miscommunication. It wasn't that I was making her wrong. I was just informing her this is what you need to do with an order of protection. She didn't do all of that, and so it was like in her own head. So we talked it out, and it's cool. That's what we got to do, guys. Because if you don't say something, we're not going to know it. You know.
That gets into the problems that you have with your therapist. You also have with people in your life. So if you're not assertive with people in your life, you're going to be passive aggressive. You're going to not say anything because you don't hurt their feelings, or you don't know what to say, or you think you're going to be wrong about or stupid or whatever. And then when that, energy builds up, then you do something, lash out in some way or go act out in some way. So that's called passive aggressive. And that's a terrible habit to be in.
Terrible.
And the antidote is be in the middle, assert yourself. You can assert yourself kindly. There are ways. And so practice that with your therapist.
Yeah.
Especially
safe place.
If that's difficult for you.
Safe place to do it. And if your therapist reacts badly, fire them. No, I'm serious.
I'm serious.
I've had people tell me that they've had therapists that just came unglued when they got called out on something. And I'm like, that's a bad therapist. That is a bad therapist. So,
and part of being a therapist is to call the client out and stuff.
Yeah, and vice versa.
In gentle ways.
Vice
it
versa.
Goes 2 ways, yeah.
Okay. Do we have any other questions? Okay. Okay. Is trauma informed? Okay. So to finish that question, I just wanted to say that a lot of therapists say they're trauma informed, and they're not. A lot of therapists say that they know about domestic violence, and they don't. So really, you want to ask them as many questions as you possibly can so that you make sure that you're with the right person.
And if you start with somebody and you find that, it's not a good fit, you just say, I'm going to find another therapist and find another therapist.
Absolutely.
Sometimes you don't know these things in the beginning.
Yeah.
Just like dating. You don't know the things that pop up years later when you're married, and all of a sudden you're married to an abuser that was the nicest guy when you were dating.
Exactly.
So it might seem like a good fit in the beginning and may turn out not to be. So.
Right. Or things change. So like, for example, as clients, get more comfortable and start telling me more stuff, sometimes I need to refer them out when it turns out there is a deeper issue that is beyond my means,
Yeah.
So it's like, we're good. Both of us are really good, but we can't cover everything, So anyway. Okay. So again, MarciaDiane.com. Where you want to go. So she's got her 6-module essential mastery.
Right. I'm helping people master the essentials of their life.
So, and this is free. So go get this. And then this is a wonderful book, Thriving in Unprecedented Times, available on Amazon and on
Amazon. Right. Well, they'll get to it from my website.
From your website.
The easiest way to do it. And then you click on the link and it takes you to Amazon. So it's sold through Amazon. There's also a Kindle version.
Fabulous.
Now, this is free, but there's a shipping and handling charge.
Yeah. That's
small shipping
and handling charge. So thank you for coming on. I really appreciate it. That's
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. And next week, guys, we're going to be talking about loneliness, because somebody was like, can you talk more about the loneliness phase of the healing part? And I'm like, oh, yes, we can do that. So next week, we will be talking about loneliness and how to make sure you do not fall into the trap of jumping right into another relationship with another abuser.
Yes.
Bad idea. Don't do it.
I've done it. It doesn't work.
It does not work. All right, my loves, you guys go be good to yourselves and each other. Drink plenty of water. It is super dry here in Arizona. Do contact your state representatives and senators, and let's get that open meetings law changed, because this is just the tip of the iceberg with the Gilbert goons. So yeah. All right, my loves, you guys go be good, and I will talk to you later. Bye.
Bye. That was awesome.
Cool.
Thank you.